Hello, and welcome to My VA Dayton, coming to you from Dayton, Ohio. This is the show where we talk to veterans in the Central Ohio region to share their stories and share what's happening at the Dayton VA. I'm Scott Leach, your host, with co-host Greg Tucker.
Hello, we have with us today a veteran from the Dayton area, Chris Stanley, an Air Force veteran who leads the Fisher Nightingale Houses, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the houses at both Wright Patterson Air Force Base and on the Dayton VA Medical Center campus. Great to have you with us today, Chris.
Thanks for the opportunity to come.
For those who may not know, the Fisher Houses offer physical and emotional support to servicemen and women, providing opportunity for military and veteran families to stay together, to support each other when a loved one is undergoing medical treatment. And we are fortunate to have two such houses in our area, one on the Dayton VA campus and the other being at Wright Pat Air Force Base. Before we get to know a little bit more about you, Chris, we are going to put you to the test.
Okay.
That's right, it's time to play Don't Tell Me, I Think I Know That. This is the game that we play where our guests are put to the test of their knowledge of military trivia. And it's also a game where listeners can play along to see if their minds are mired in mounds of military minutia like ours are. Are you ready to take this challenge, Chris?
Well, I'm a little concerned, but sure.
Don't worry, we'll take care of you on this ride. So here's your first question. What famous aviator broke the sound barrier over the Mojave Desert at Edwards Air Force Base? Was it Chuck Norris, Chuck Yeager, Chuck Connors, or Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh, those are interesting options, but I'll go with Chuck Yeager.
You're right. That's right. Brigadier General Charles Elwood Yeager was a United States Air Force officer, flying ace, and record-setting test pilot who in 1947 became the first pilot in history confirmed to have exceeded the speed of sound in level flight. Yeager was raised in Hamlin, West Virginia. So here's your next question. What is the radio call name used for any U.S. Air Force plane carrying the president? Would it be the Eagle, the Hawk, Air Force 2, or Air Force 1?
Well, we know it's Air Force 1 because we've had it land here at Wright Pat a number of times.
You sure have. That's correct. That's right. Air Force 1 is the official call name for any Air Force aircraft carrying the President of the United States. The call sign Marine 1 is used whenever the President flies in a U.S. Marine chopper or helicopter. Now, here's your third and final question. The United States Air Forces share a birthday with this federal entity. Would it be the FBI, the NASA, or CIA, or YMCA?
It's got to be the NSA because it was part of the National Security Act of 1947.
Well, that's close, but I said the NASA, which is NASA.
Yeah.
Would it be FBI, NASA, CIA, or YMCA?
It's a federal entity. Let's guess CIA.
The CIA?
Still wrong, aren't I?
Actually, the National Security Act of 1947 officially separated the Air Force into its own military branch and created the Central Intelligence Agency. The act was a major restructuring milestone for the United States military and intelligence agencies post-World War II. Bonus question. Do you know what the date is for the Air Force birthday?
17 September 1947.
That is correct. Good answer. So, Greg, what have we got for our winner today?
We have a set of 4 Dayton VA industrial strength chip clips designed by NASA's aerospace engineers to keep your snacks fresh at home or wherever you may be traveling in the near future. Compliments of the Dayton VA.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear more from Chris about what he's doing in Dayton these days.
Our veterans put everything on the line to protect our freedom. We may never be able to repay them for their sacrifice, but we can show them just how much we appreciate all they've done. Every day, hundreds of people just like you volunteer to help our veterans. You can help by simply sharing your time, lending a warm smile, a supportive hand, or a sympathetic ear to someone who needs it. Everyone can do something to make our veterans know how much we appreciate their service. What will you do?
And we're back with Air Force veteran Chris Stanley. So, Chris, tell us about the Fisher Nightingale Houses, Inc. I said we have Fisher Houses both at Dayton and Wright, Pat, but you've told me that we've actually got 3 in the area, with 2 of the houses actually being on the Wright Pat Air Force Base.
Correct. So the name of our organization, Fisher Nightingale Houses Incorporated, we began with the Nightingale House out at Wright Patterson Air Force Base that opened in May of 1990 through the foresight of a captain named Gretchen Lietze. Gretchen was reassigned to Wright Patterson Air Force Base under humanitarian reassignment because her 6-year-old son Tony had leukemia. And although she was stationed at the base at that time at Armstrong Lab and had a place to live, when she was going through treatment, she saw people in the medical center who were sleeping in the medical center, sleeping in their cars in the parking lot because they were the lowest priority for billeting and often got bumped out and they couldn't afford a hotel. So she envisioned a Ronald McDonald type compassionate care home and opened that, lobbied the private organizations and the leadership on base. And as I said, that opened in May of 1990. Well, later in 1990, the Fisher family was contacted by Pauline Trost. Her husband was the chief of naval operations, and she asked them if they would consider building a Ronald McDonald type compassionate care home at Bethesda Naval Medical Center. And the reason she reached out to them, their background, Zach and his family came to this country as immigrants. He and his brothers
Zach Fisher.
Right. He and his brothers left high school and actually started out as bricklayers in New York City. They actually opened their own firm, and they're now one of the largest construction firms and own about 6 million square feet of leasable space in Manhattan. So they're probably doing pretty well. But when World War II broke out, Zach tried to come into the Marines. But he was barred from the service due to an injury to his leg in a construction accident. He was very patriotic. Elizabeth, his wife, subsequent, to World War II, she was a Ziegfeld girl who went overseas with the USO and entertained the troops.
No, I've never heard that about them.
Yeah.
No, I never knew that about her.
So they never had any kids. They were very patriotic and loved this country. And if you remember when the headquarters for the Marines was bombed in Beirut, Lebanon, we lost over 200 Marines in that incident. Well, Zach reached out and he sent a check for $10,000 to every family and a personal handwritten note he was sending on behalf of the grateful Americans. So we're talking over $2 million. Then a plane crashed in Gander, Newfoundland with over 200 troops from 101st Airborne that were coming back from a deployment to the Sinai Desert. He writes a check for $10,000 again to each family. Then the gun turrets explode on the USS Iowa, and we lose over 40 sailors in that incident, and he writes a check for $25,000 to each family. So now he's about $5 million plus into this and says to his wife, maybe we should start a foundation. So when Pauline reached out to them and spoke to them about building the one in Bethesda, they actually said, we'll build 3, one for the Army, one for the Navy, one for the Air Force. You tell us where. We've got the construction background, we've got the engineers, the architects, and the money, and we will build it and donate it to the government. Well, what started as a request for one, there's now 92 Fisher houses in the network.
And growing.
There's 4 more under construction, and they'll break ground for at least 4 more next year. So we're getting ready to hit a milestone of over 100 houses in the Fisher House network.
And their ultimate goal is to have a Fisher House at every military installation, correct?
Every military installation that has a major medical center, and then the VA major medical centers, and the list is long for the VA. Well, we got our first Fisher House in May of 1994, and so we operated that and the Nightingale House simultaneously. We ended up opening the second Fisher House on Wright Pat in April of 11. And so the Nightingale House was a converted base house. It was returned to the government and subsequently has been demolished. But we returned that to them in February of 11. And then, like I said, Fisher House 2 opened in April of 11. And then We opened the one on the historic VA campus in October of 2018. So Fisher Houses, I tell people the Reader's Digest version is that we're just like a Ronald McDonald House, but we support the wounded, injured, and ill military men and women, veterans, and their families. And between our three here in the Dayton area, we have 37 suites. If you multiply that by 365 nights a year, that's 13,500 nights. And if you figure out what the average rate of a hotel is here in the area, we have the capability to save the guests over $2 million in hotel costs each year, but in a home environment, not in a hotel environment.
Right. The facilities are absolutely phenomenal. Not just they're far more than just a hotel room. They're more welcoming. It's more like a home atmosphere. They are absolutely terrific. But tell us specifically who can use those facilities.
Okay, so the houses support anybody who is receiving either inpatient or outpatient treatment at the Wright Medical Center or the Dayton VA Medical Center. For however long they're receiving that treatment, they stay with us, and there's no cost to stay. One of the things that's unique about the one on the Dayton VA campus, a couple things that are unique about it. First of all, in addition to the VA Medical Center, patients and their families, you have a large hospice facility on the campus. And so we support the families that are coming in to see their loved one that's in hospice. And they can stay also in the Fisher House with us. Another thing that's unique is, out at Wright Pat, we've got a commissary on the base, and you've got the Kroger's up on Dayton Yellow Springs, and you've got a Myers over on Colonel Glenn. Where you're at down on the VA campus, that's a food desert. Considered the west side of Dayton as a food desert. So I take $5,000 in Visa cards to the house manager every 4 or 5 weeks. She orders food through a program called SHIPT, S-H-I-P-T. And if you walk into the house, you talked about the kitchen, again, not like a hotel. There's a kitchen there that they can cook whatever they want. It is a home. Yeah. But there's 3 Sub-Zero refrigerators and 2 Sub-Zero freezers.
A very nice home, by the way.
Yes, a $7 million home. But you walk in, and 2 of the 3 refrigerators and both freezers are completely stocked with food. And then there's also food, non-perishables. And so the guests can go in and get whatever they want, whenever they want, whatever works for their schedule. If they want to get up and put on their pink fuzzy slippers and their bathrobe in the middle of the night and go get something to eat, they can do it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Chris, if I could ask you a question concerning if you can give us an example of a veteran or a family member who came to you seeking help, as far as from the Fisher House, what type of support, or can you give me a scenario where they received support?
Well, this VA supports 18 counties, and 17 in Ohio, 1 in Indiana. If you're receiving some kind of treatment, do you want to drive back and forth to Indiana every day? I don't. I would not want to get on 70 and drive back and forth to Indiana every day, or some other distant county. And so you're coming here to the medical center to receive, again, either inpatient or outpatient treatment, and you'd like your family to come along. We feel that the Fisher House Network, we feel that a family's love is good medicine. And if you talk to any medical professional, they'll tell you that having your family there to support you while you're going through whatever that medical situation is, but is actually very good for the recovery process. I think it would be, the term I would use, I think it's criminal if we have a veteran who, A, decides not to come and receive treatment because they don't know the house exists, but they don't want to be separated from their family, or B, they come and they stay in a local hotel, and they're paying that cost for a hotel off the campus. The closest hotel to the Dayton VA campus is either the UD Marriott or downtown Dayton. There's no hotels directly near the campus, and they're paying for that. We've got these houses, and we provide the service for free to these veterans, again, for however long they're undergoing that inpatient or outpatient treatment. So we want people to come and stay in the houses. They're there for them. That house on the VA campus, that's a 16-bedroom, 17.5 handicapped accessible bath house, 13,500 square feet. I don't know if either of you have made the time to go and take a tour of the house, but you won't find a nicer house,
No.
for these families to stay in. And some of them actually will say to us, this is nicer than I've ever been in. This is really kind of too nice for me. And we don't want them to feel that. We want them to come in and feel at home in the Fisher House.
Yeah, I'm assuming that for many it's very humbling actually to go in there, like you say, oh, this is too good for me, or I don't deserve this. And I'm sure that there have been a number of people that you've run into in this this endeavor that have benefited greatly. Without that facility, they couldn't be with their loved one. They couldn't have provided the support for the veteran who's receiving the medical care. Tell us, if you can, is there a particular time that really stands out to you where you saw that that unique experience that really, not only touched your heart, but really validates everything that we do with these Fisher houses?
There's been a number. I've been around for a long time. I've been involved with the Fisher houses for about 28 years and been the executive director for over 20 years. The house managers are the ones who see the families daily and that type of thing. I run the nonprofit that supports the houses, but I know of cases, and I tell people when I go out and speak, the average length of stay is about a week. Some families stay with us for a day or two. Some families stay with us for, several weeks to a month. And we've had, out at Wright Pat, for instance, we've had a family stay with us for over a year while they're going through treatment. As a matter of fact, they were with us so long that when they left, they had to rent a U-Haul to take all the stuff they'd accumulated while they were there, over that 1 year period. It was their home.
I didn't know people PCS from the Fisher House.
Well, this individual is a master sergeant in the Air Force. He was getting ready to retire, and as he went through his retirement physical, they found a serious medical condition. He was overseas. They sent him here, and the treatment just kept going on and on. And in that situation, they wouldn't retire him until that situation was resolved, or on a good path. So he and his wife stayed with us for a year, and it became their home. And if you look at our testimonies on our website and our annual report, they actually made a statement along the lines of this is not a Fisher house. This is our Fisher home. And that's what we want people to understand is it's not a cold check in at the front desk, here's your key, your room's down the hall on the right situation. Home.
And Chris, how would someone find out more information, or how do they contact the Fisher House if they're in need?
So at the Dayton VA and at Wright Patterson Air Force Base, the social workers within the medical centers know of the Fisher House and make referrals over. If somebody is going to a clinic, within, again, the VA or Wright Pat, and typically the staff will know of a Fisher House, and they'll say, okay, you need to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday for you're to be checked in for your treatment. Well, I live 3 hours away. They'll say to them, contact the Fisher House. Here's the number. Betsy Strebel's the manager over at the Dayton VA. Diora's the manager over at Wright Pat Air Force Base, and they'll be referred to them. And not only that, but like on Wright Pat, base billeting is aware of the Fisher House and supports us, because if somebody contacts them and says, hey, I'm going to be coming in, I need to receive medical treatment, I need to reserve a room of billeting will actually say to them, why don't you call the Fisher House and make sure you stay over there. So we want people to know, I have two tasks as the executive director, of course, to raise money, but the other part is the education task, and I want everybody to know that these houses exist.
Yeah, and so if there is somebody that's in need and may not have known about the Fisher House, that their first stop is to talk to social work to get that referral.
To get the referral.
Absolutely, and they will do a great job to ensure that you're into the system and taken care of. We know how dedicated you are to this cause. You were so dedicated that you actually took a pay cut to actually come to work for this non-for-profit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I retired from the Air Force in 2001, and I initially began with the Fisher House in this position as a part-time job. So I took a full-time job working as a government contractor on Wright Pat, and I did that for 15 years. So my part-time job with the Fisher House evolved into a full-time job. So I essentially had 2 full-time jobs. And of course, government contractors are paid pretty well. And when this third house came about down at the Dayton VA, my wife and I spoke, and I said, you know what, I've been doing this for 15 years. I can't do both jobs anymore. I can't do it justice. And she looked at me and she said, you know, Fisher House is your passion. If you can work out a new deal with them and go full-time, then go ahead and do it. So I took a big pay cut because from what I was making with Fisher House and a government contractor to just what I was making with Fisher House. But I'll be honest with you, I tell people, God has blessed my wife and I, we have more disposable income now with less income, you know, than we had when I was working 2 full-time jobs. But we were talking, 3 of us were talking beforehand. I've got 4 kids and 16 grandkids, and none of them live local. And I was hearing from those family members of, you can't come see us? Well, I'm sorry, I've got work I got to do. So it opened up that space a little more for me.
Yes, well, that's how serious you take this, and we understand how dedicated you are. And I'm guessing that a lot of that dedication comes from the fact that you spent quite a bit of time in the military to begin with. But tell us, what was your calling to join the military? You spent 20 plus years in the Air Force. Why did you go into the Air Force?
I came in straight out of high school. As a matter of fact, I went into late enlistment while I was still in high school in my senior year, and it was kind of a calling, but I wasn't college material, and I knew that, and so I wanted to get a career going. My family's background, my mom was a sergeant in the Army during World War II. And my dad was an officer in the Army Air Corps in World War II. They weren't married at the time. That was prohibited. They subsequently got married. My brother did a couple tours in Vietnam. He's about 14 years older than I am. So when I got out of high school, Vietnam was over. But he did a couple tours. My adopted dad was in the Navy in World War II. So I have some military background there. And I decided I wanted to join the Air Force, and it's kind of funny. I came home and told my mom I joined the Air Force, and she said, but we're an Army family. And I said, but I scored high enough to get in the Air Force. So, yeah, so when I came in the Air Force, I was in a small select personnel career field called Personal Affairs. And that really fell into my calling because Personal Affairs handled the casualty notification, reporting, and assistance to the next of kin. So during my entire career, I was taking care of people, taking care of family members when, you know, somebody would pass away with active duty, reserve, guard, retired, you know, we were providing assistance to them. And then, of course, as a first sergeant, I took care of a lot of folks, and I did that for about 5.5 years before I retired. And in my last unit had over 1,000 troops, and you know that's a lot of people to take care of.
Absolutely. You know, in reading your bio, I learned that you have received a lot of honors over the years for all your service. You know, you're a more than average dedicated individual to pretty much whatever you set your mind to and your heart to. But one of the things that stood out in the bio was that you'd actually received a promotion through the Stripes for Exceptional Performers, which is the STEP program. Tell us a little bit about how that happened. What did you do to earn that?
I did my job, you know, and I guess I did my job
excelled
really
at your
well.
job.
I guess I did my job really well.
Yeah.
I was at Randolph Air Force Base in the what then was the 12th Air Base Group. Worked in a building on the base, if you've ever been to Randolph, called the Taj Mahal, is the building. I was working there. But I got selected as the Wing NCO of the Year, and the Wing Commander had one on-the-spot step promotion to give out, and
Right.
So,
that's what people don't. A lot of people don't understand that step promotion is very rare. Commanders only give that out to exceptional performers, but they're only given one of those on-spot promotions. The rest of them you have to earn through the normal channels. So
yeah, and so you spent 20 plus years in the Air Force. I was stepped to Tech Sergeant E6 when I had 6 years and 2 months in the Air Force. Most people were still competing for E5 at that point, but I got stepped to Tech at that point. But if you read the rest of it, it took me a while to get all my other promotions, and because I never studied. Mm-hmm. I was always doing what I wanted to do, which was taking care of people, being involved in organizations that were taking care of people. So it took me 7 years to make master, and it took me another 8 years to make senior, E8. And it's because I'd never cracked a book, and I never prepared for, and I didn't politic for promotion. I was doing the things I wanted to do to take care of people.
As you said before, you were doing your job. You weren't playing the game. You were doing what needed to be done. And
And Chris, hearing as far as your experience, your career, as far as your military career, you took care of a lot of people. What are some of the most valuable skills you felt that you transferred into what you're doing now?
I think empathy is the biggest thing. It was very moving, and it was very difficult to do casualty assistance to families, especially for active duty families where somebody died in an aircraft incident, a car accident. I unfortunately saw homicides and suicides, and other accidental drownings, and all kinds of things, ways that people could pass away. And of course, then somebody who had an illness, and it took some time. But a sudden death, and then you're dealing with a young spouse, maybe young kids, and you're dealing with that and trying to help them get all the Air Force, VA, Social Security benefits, commercial life insurance proceeds, and so on. I learned a lot of empathy and caring for other people, and that's the way I was raised. So it's not like I had to learn that. I just had to nurture it and mature it more as I grew up, and that carried over to what I do now. I want families to be taken care of, and know that the houses exist and use the houses, and I contact the house managers all the time. What do you need? What can the board get you? What can our organization do to support you? What do you need to take care of the guests that are in the house?
Okay. Well, thank you again for everything that you do. Chris, we're going to be taking a break right now, and we'll be right back and hear some more of Chris's story.
I was in the military. I didn't know that when I left, I was eligible for health care through the VA. I thought you had to be disabled or have been wounded. Another vet told me I should check it out. Now, I have the care I need at the Dayton VA.
Don't wait another day to see how the VA may help you.
I'm a vet, and it's my VA. Make it your VA today.
Call 937-268-6511, extension 2159 to enroll, or visit dayton.va.gov.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA Medical Center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
And we're back with Air Force veteran Chris Stanley. Hey, Chris, if you could, tell us a little bit about your experience with the Dayton VA.
When I retired, I got my disability through the VA, but I was getting my care out at Wright Pat. We have a large medical center, and I was hearing from my wife that the TV in the house was getting louder and louder and louder. And she said,
"You in my father's house."
She said, "So you need to go to the base and get a hearing test."
Yeah,
and I did. And they said,
you actually listened to her.
Honestly, she's my fourth wife, yes, so I've
Okay.
learned over time.
It's just that a lot of people who have that issue, they don't, I would say they don't hear it, no pun intended, but they really don't. They don't notice it. And it's hard to convince someone who is having those issues, hearing loss, that they have a real issue. It's kind of like vision as well. You get the new glasses. Oh my gosh, I can see everything now. What beautiful colors! And the same with the hearing. So you actually listened to her.
I did. So I went to the base, and then the base said to me, as a military retiree, you can get them from us at cost.
Yeah.
But then they said, do you have a disability through the VA? And I said, yes, but it's for my heart. And they said, it doesn't matter. Go down there, get registered. You can get your hearing aids to the VA at no cost. So I went down, I got registered, went through primary care. They made the referral. And I went up there, and I got to tell you, I absolutely love the people up in audiology. And one of your past directors, Glenn Costi, said to me one time when we were talking, he said, for every compliment I get for any clinic in the rest of the medical center, I get one for the VA for audiology. He said they're phenomenal, and they are. They've been phenomenal to me. And you know, when I first got my hearing aids, honestly, for about the first year, I didn't wear them. I don't have any hair, and it was kind of probably a vanity thing, you know. I'm 50 or whatever I was at the time, and here I am wearing hearing aids, and I don't have a way to hide it, under the hair. Eventually, I put them in, and now I am the biggest advocate for them. And I've talked to a number of people, and I tell them when you get them, it's going to take your brain about 3 or 4 months to kind of adjust. You're going to start hearing things you haven't heard in forever. If you crumple a piece of paper, or how loud the keyboard is when you're typing on it, or this or that or the other, but do not.
Oh my God, I can hear again.
Yeah, but then it actually bothers them.
Yeah,
and so I tell them, do not take them out. Your brain needs to be rewired to to work with them.
Exactly.
And so I'm like the biggest advocate for the audiology department. And if I have to go to any other clinic down at the Dayton VA, I'm sure I'll receive just as great a service.
Right. Yeah, but you even had mentioned just before we started that you got your hearing aids in there, and they're actually connected to the phone, and how it's not just your basic hearing aids. These are state-of-the-art hearing aids that employ technology that you can actually hear the phone conversation.
Actually, you want to hear something funnier? There's a device that's connected to my TV, and the TV is also Bluetoothed into my head.
Nice.
And it filters out my wife at the same time.
So you used to listen to her, but you don't anymore.
That's a selling point. Well, she has to raise her hand and get my attention when she wants me to pause the TV so she can talk to me. So that's kind of a selling point, because every time I tell people that, the guys, they're like, well, how do I get hearing aids?
So what would you tell other veterans who don't know about it, from your experience? What would you tell?
Bad news sells. If you watch the regular news at night, 58 minutes of the regular news, or 28 minutes if it's a 30-minute show, is going to be bad news. And then they'll put the one little fuzzy, feel-good piece at the very end. And people will tell you any bad experience they had at the VA, or they had a friend of a friend of a friend who had a bad experience, and that perpetuates. But the people need to understand there's a lot of good that goes on down there. I know, as we discussed before, your director, he and I were in the Air Force together. I know a number of other people there. Your staff is phenomenal. The support is phenomenal. Do not go down and experience it yourself, and then you'll see, instead of listening to the story of a friend of a friend of a friend, what we used to refer to as like old wives' tales, kind of thing that scares people off from going there. Well, I'm going to receive crummy service. No, you're not. Go down there and experience it.
Well, thanks, Chris, for joining us today. It's great to hear all your stories. They've been fantastic, and we love to hear stories from veterans like you that are here in the Southwest Ohio region.
Well, and I appreciate the opportunity to spread the news about the Fisher House and what we do.
And it's great work that you do.
We'll be right back.
When I retired from the Air Force, I received my medical benefits for life through TRICARE. I didn't know I was also eligible for care through the VA, some of which I pay no copay for or an annual premium. Now I have options I didn't know I had before because of the Dayton VA.
Don't wait another day to see how the VA may help you.
I'm a vet, and it's my VA. Make it your VA today.
Call 937-268-6511, extension 2159 to enroll, or visit dayton.va.gov.
And we want to thank Air Force veteran Chris Stanley once again for taking time to tell us his story and to share his experience with the Dayton VA Medical Center.
I'm Brandon. It's my VA. Make it your VA. If you are caring for a veteran with serious illness or disabilities, the Dayton VA Medical Center can help you support them and take care of yourself. You may qualify for services like training, counseling, or respite care when you need a break. If the veteran you care for was injured post 9/11, you may be eligible for even more services, including a stipend to help with expenses, training, and medical coverage if you aren't already covered. For all caregivers, we can provide progressive needs planning to help manage degenerative conditions, match caregivers with services and benefits, connect caregivers with local resources and programs, and listen to caregivers when they are struggling. And listening may be the biggest help of all in a situation like this. Who else can you turn to when you are facing struggles with providing care for a loved one? Who else understands the special needs of an aging or disabled veteran? The professionals with the Caregiver Support Program do. They know what you're going through and where to find additional help. If you're a caregiver for a veteran, you can get support by contacting Erin Heyman, Supervisory Social Worker at the Dayton VA Medical Center. Her phone number is 937-268-6511, extension 2858. The Caregiver Support Line is also available if you need support outside of the Dayton healthcare region, have questions about caregiver support services nationwide, or just need someone to listen to right now. Simply call 855-260-3274.
We want to say thanks again to our special guests for taking time today to share their story. We truly enjoy hearing stories from veterans from across the region and learning more about how they found care through the Dayton VA Medical Center. And as always, we want to thank our listeners for joining us and remind them, if they are a veteran and not enrolled, to enroll with the Veterans Health Administration to receive health care benefits through the Dayton VA Medical Center. It's easy and it doesn't cost a thing. You just need to be a veteran. The simplest way to start enrollment is to call our Enrollment and Eligibility Office at 937-268-6511, extension 4105. They can schedule an appointment for you to come to the Dayton VA campus or help you make an appointment to come to one of the many surrounding community-based outpatient clinics located at Springfield, Richmond, Lima, and Middletown. Again, that number is 937-268-6511, extension 4105. Veterans may also enroll by visiting www.choose.va.gov/health. While there, you can choose from applying online, by phone, or by mail. It's just that simple. Really, as I said before, it doesn't cost a thing to apply. So what are you waiting for? Call us today. Or, if you know of a veteran who is not enrolled, have them call to start taking advantage of this benefit. If you're a veteran, it's your VA. Sign up today. Join us again for another episode of My VA Dayton with the Dayton VA Medical Center. Our episodes drop the 1st and 15th of each month. I'm Scott Leese with your co-host Greg Tucker. Thanks again for listening to My VA Dayton.